It is a Saturday morning. I've got my jersey on backwards in honor of our backwards ass team. It's an impromptu show, really. Saturday morning coffee with Greg Gabriel. He is with us for just a short time, so let's get right into it. Greg, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. This is my co-host PJ. We're down to Foster. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Good to see you, Greg. I'm glad you joined us, man.
Good to see you guys. So what did you do? Put the back on the front for that jersey?
Yeah, I'm wearing it backwards.
Okay.
Because
I don't know if Brian would like that though.
Well, here's why I chose Brian. Well, here's why I'm doing it. Because it's come down to, for me as a fan, I cannot get past the one thing that is the common denominator in the complete incompetence of this team is ownership. And it starts with whoever they hire. You know, we bitched and moaned about Ted Phillips forever. Super excited to get Kevin Warren in here. Then we find out that Kevin Warren is possibly the reason why Jim Harbaugh was not even a factor in this.
Wait a minute. Let's back up a little bit, because that's already been proven to be a total lie.
Okay, so that's
in fact, who was it? Pelissero was on yesterday on a talk show, and Rich Eisen asked him about it because it's not true.
Okay, so let's just it's not true. But then you have what really drives me crazy is them asking him in the press conference if they're going to hire a consultant firm, and they didn't have an answer. That just, to me, is why I'm wearing my jersey backwards, because I would have thought that they would have immediately, Kevin Warren's response would have been, this is Ryan Poles' decision. Ryan's going to look for the guy. It's his decision. Of course, we'll talk it over as a team. That should have been the answer, not like, well, we might do that. That's why I'm wearing my jersey backwards. And the reason why
I get it. And you know, there's people who think, well, it's going to be Kevin Warren's decision. No, it's not. He's basically has to get rid of Ryan Poles to make the decision, because it's in Ryan Poles' contract. Okay. People, what a lot of people don't understand is what contracts say.
Right.
And contracts overcome everything else. And you're not a general manager in this league unless your contract says you got control of the 53-man roster and you can hire and fire the coach. It's real simple. If you don't have those clauses in your contract and you're getting paid for those clauses, then you're not a general manager.
See, that's why I wanted you on the show.
You're a director of player personnel with a fancy title.
That is exactly why I wanted you on the show, to beat the moron out of me, to beat the meathead moron football Bears fan out of me. Thank you.
So, I mean, you know, Kevin can try, but the fact is, I mean, Ryan could walk out the door and say, pay me.
Yeah.
You're violating my contract. And I'm not saying that that's the way it's going to go. You know, I talked to people who, when Kevin got hired, had misgivings about it, people around the league. But, you know, I'm not going to say that. He's proven to be an effective administrator when he was commissioner of the Big Ten. There's people in the Big Ten that didn't like him. But, you know, I don't care where he goes, there's going to be people who don't like it.
Of course.
You know, he likes to talk. He's a salesman. That's, you know, what he is. I don't like the idea of trying to move or build a stadium downtown. It's never going to happen. They're never going to get the money from the state. They're just wasting time. You know, unless somebody wants to put up the money privately. But the Bears were going to pay for the stadium, not for the infrastructure, but for the stadium in Arlington Park.
Mm-hmm.
The Arlington Park story, whatever, that's a license to print money for the McCaskey family.
Right.
You know, so, you know, how he talked them out of that, I don't know. And I don't think, and being that they were still working on the tax situation with the school districts in Cook County, tells me that it's never really been put on the back burner. There's just a lot of politics involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Greg, I was wondering when you saw the interview with Ryan Poles as well as Kevin and how Kevin took the lead, and it seemed like Ryan wasn't his normal self. What did you read into that?
Not as much as people in the media did. I think it's a situation where Ryan had to fire somebody, and that was new to him. Okay, so, and it's a guy who was obviously a friend, and now I don't know, and I don't think we'll ever know if Flus was 100% Ryan's decision in hiring. I think some of that, just like going back to Ryan Pace.
I was worried.
I know for a fact
for saying that because I was going to bring that up. Thank you.
No, Ryan Pace was told to hire John Fox. Okay, and that came from Ernie Accorsi. I worked with Ernie Accorsi for years. I know Ernie. I know I worked with John Fox. We all worked together in New York. Jim Fossil was the head coach. Sean Payton was the offensive coordinator. Accorsi was the GM, and Foxy was the defensive coordinator. We all worked together. I know what Ernie thought of John Fox, and I was in Buffalo seeing my kids when Denver and Fox divorced, and he really didn't get fired. They just didn't have he didn't have a workable situation with John Elway. And so he walked away. They mutually separated. And
Does he get paid for that?
No.
Oh, he doesn't.
And then I said right after, I think I went on the score. Like within a minute, I called the score. I said, "That's your coach. He'll be the coach within a week. You watch." And he was. In fact, I don't even know if Pace had been hired at that point. But there wasn't a question in my mind that as soon as he became available, and of course he was the consultant. And these consultants are you don't go out and hire them. They come from the league. They got a pool of ex-GMs in the league that are there to help you, and they're experienced people. And for the most part, they could do a good job. But like anybody else, they're going to lean towards their favorites. And with Accorsi, it was a no-brainer for him when Fox became available. Right. I just think, and I think the world of Fox.
An overcorrection too because of Trestman. It seemed like almost like an overcorrection too, right?
I think what it got down to is you had a rookie, inexperienced GM, and you wanted to pair him with an experienced head coach.
Yeah, fair enough. So how do you feel? So you're of the same mindset as me that Ryan Pace, Eberflus was not his guy.
I don't think he was totally his guy. I think that Polian strongly recommended. I don't know that for fact. It just happened too fast for it not to be that way.
Exactly.
It was like 48 hours.
Right. They interviewed 4 candidates? They hired polls?
Yeah, I mean, they interview coaches, then they interview GM, then they go back to coaches, then they hired the GM.
You see one of my jerseys on backwards?
Yeah, no, I get it, but that's the way Polian wanted to do it. They wanted then, find out these are the coaching candidates. Now we're going to figure out who the GM is, and we're going to tell the GM who to hire.
Yes.
How does Poles compare to the GMs you work with?
I like Ryan. I met Ryan years ago. We signed him as a free agent when I was there.
Right.
But in all fairness, I don't think either one of us remember each other from back then. So he was a UDFA.
Right.
Rex Hogan is the guy who actually signed him. He was the area scout, the Northeast area scout. We had a decent grade on him though. Otherwise, we wouldn't have signed him as a free agent. But we've talked a few times. I met him at the East-West game out in Vegas, and we because I do some work for the East-West game, and so I was at the practices, and we talked for about 45 minutes. And, we share text back and forth, and more so his first 2 years than this past year. I like him. I think he's going in the right direction. Has he done everything right? No. Does every general manager do everything right? No. You've got to learn. Okay, you're going to make mistakes. You got to learn from your mistakes. I think, not that I want to pat our group on the back, but the only group that was running the Bears that was better than ours was Jim Finks.
I agree.
Okay, so I mean, we got to the playoffs 4 times in the 9.5 years I was there. Won 3 division titles, won a conference title.
Finally started beating the Packers again.
Yeah, and
we had
a lot of success, and they have not had that success since Jerry was let go. And I got my reasons for why that happened to Jerry, but I'll leave that private.
I'm still pissed about the Thomas or the Cedric Benson draft, though.
Obviously I was involved in that. Different time. Running backs had a totally different value. I mean, you can't say you're pissed because we didn't take Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers didn't go to like 22 or 23 or something like that. Okay, so I wouldn't have taken
Aaron Rodgers either, but in the moments I was for a running back, but hindsight is kicking me in the ass. Sorry.
Well, so there was 3 running backs who went in the top 5. Ronnie Brown went, Ced went, Cadillac went. I wouldn't have touched Cadillac. Loved Cadillac as a college football player, but Cadillac was a 205-pound running back and a 180-pound body.
Yeah.
And you knew he was going to get beat up and that he wasn't going to last. And guess what? He got beat up and didn't last because his frame could not carry the pounding. Ced was the most talented. Ced had issues. It's funny. Lovey wanted Ced. That was Lovey's guy. But what they failed to do is really check with the pulse of some of the team leaders and say, if we draft a running back, they that's wanted no part of Ced at first. Thomas Jones was their guy. And if you know Thomas Jones is a pro's pro.
Loved Thomas Jones.
Okay. He was sort of quiet, but hard worker, went about his way. Everybody loved him. He didn't make mistakes. Good person. There wasn't anything wrong. But, and Ced was, I got along with Ced great, but he was, could he be a little ornery? Yeah. That was his personality. And finally it came to a head. He the story was he was supposed, they used to have that, I don't know what they called it. It was like a Bears weekend downtown. And he was supposed to go. It was during the off-season program, and he never showed up. He got on a flight and went to Austin. And that pissed Lovey off.
I remember him crying when they drafted him. I thought, God, he's so excited to be a Bear because of the running back lore. Nope, didn't want to be a Bear.
No, that's not true.
Really? That's what I heard.
No, well,
you would know.
His agent was one of his late agent, Eugene Parker, is one of my best friends. There was never any truth to that.
What? So he was crying because he was just drafted?
Probably. I mean, and drafted as high as he went. But it had nothing to do with not wanting to go to the Bears because I know Eugene. I mean, we did a ton of work on him.
See, that's why you're here, Greg. To kick them.
I wasn't totally for taking a running back because we had other needs, and I don't remember what all the other needs were. But again, at that time, running back was a value position. So 3 went in the top 5. But that would never happen now.
Yeah. For sure, yeah. That was towards the tail end of when running backs were still highly valued.
There was one other draft when 3 went real high. Not as high as that, but real high. And that was like 2 years later, maybe 3 years later.
Now, given the state of Poles, do you think he's now on a short leash?
No.
No.
I just think that, people want to read into things. He's got 2 more seasons on his contract. It's going to be a big off season for him. Whoever this hire is going to be is obviously going to be big. My opinion, it's really his first real hire. He wants to get it right. He's had a couple mistakes. See, part of it you could say is he's not Kevin's guy. Kevin wasn't involved in hiring him.
That's what.
But
you're leading right into what I was.
But Kevin came along. When you look at it, Kevin started months after he was agreed to a deal because he had to finish his work with the Big Ten, and so it was still before that first season that they already had agreed to hire Kevin Warren. So he just wasn't part of the actual process of going out and interviewing and hiring Ryan. But chances are that's who he would have hired anyway. He was a strong candidate, very strong candidate. But has he done a couple things wrong? Yeah, the Chase Claypool thing blew up on him. Probably overpaid for it. And where he's missed and it is really not talent, it's football character on those. Same thing with Nate Davis. And I've said this on my show. And sometimes it's hard to find out about the football character. You try to do your best. We missed on Michael Haynes, who was our second or third draft, first round pick. And we told our scouts right from day one, you can miss on talent. We got people to back you up on the talent, other people to get evaluation. You cannot miss on the football character. That's your job. You're the person going into school. Mm-hmm. But in fairness, we held the scout accountable. When his contract was up, he was up. Mm-hmm. So, but in fairness to him, Michael Haynes came from Penn State, and trying to get information out of Penn State in those days, Joe Paterno was there, was like trying to get information out of the CIA. They just didn't. They lied to you all the time. Meaning Penn State,
right?
Awful place. And talk to guys like Robbie Gold. I mean, he just killed Joe all the time. It's just love Penn State, but not Joe Paterno. But we couldn't get good information. It got to a point where I said, "Fuck it, I'm not going there anymore." Yeah,
yeah, I understand.
Now with the coaching search, what type of player what type of coach do you think the Bears are looking for?
Yeah, Vernon Roseman's asking what's like your short list? Like, do you think is in this?
It doesn't matter what my short list is. Right now, and I honestly believe this, Thomas Brown is, to use, and I'll say it the exact same way I said it on my show. He's the leader in the clubhouse. Now it's his job to lose. And I don't know if he's got to have a certain record, because I don't know if that's really fair. Especially at this point of the season, given the different problems that have happened over the last month and all the injuries and stuff. But I think it's how he responds to the situation, how he handles the coaching staff, and how the players, and probably most importantly, how the players respond and react to him.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
go ahead.
With that being said, underneath Brown is Washington. So how do you think Washington, being the play caller now, will respond to this challenge?
Well, Eric, I know Eric. He was on the staff here. He was on Lovey's staff.
Mhm.
He was Marinelli's assistant defensive line coach. It was first. He was the lead D line coach at Northwestern. Came to us. It was his first NFL job. Good coach and a good person. Very good coach. One of the best I've been around. And Eric has, I mean, he knows the scheme inside and out, was here with it under Marinelli. But at the same time, he's got his own philosophy. I think just if you compare him to Flus and how you're going to use that scheme, he's going to be more aggressive. He's going to be a lot more aggressive.
Thank God.
Okay. Obviously, it's going to depend on the situation. You saw it a little bit. He was calling plays in the preseason.
Yeah.
And hell, they were blitz in preseason. They were blitzing off the bus.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's just his mentality. He wants to create pressure any way he can. So, but you can't just do it to do it. You got to do it in the right situations. You got to have the right matchups. You got to protect your defensive back. So who are you going against receiver wise? You know, there's a lot that plays into it, but just general philosophy, he's a lot more aggressive than Flus is. And so I think you'll see that. But reality, let's just fast forward. Let's assume Thomas Brown gets the job. Will Eric be his DC going forward? I don't know. I mean, that depends on what their relationship is and the trust they have in each other.
That's my hope. My one and only hope to break this cycle, Greg, is that he is a diamond in the rough, that we lucked into him as being our next head coach for the next 10 years, because that would mean it would avoid the process of the McCaskies getting involved.
Well, let me back up again. You got to still go through the process. That's rules, league rules. You cannot just hand him the job.
Oh,
question. He can go 5-0. He can go 5-0, and you can't say you're the head coach.
We can go 5-0. We can win the Super Bowl with him, and he's still.
And you cannot hand him the job. You got to go through a coaching search. That's a league rule.
How was New England able to do that with a male?
They designated him as the head coach 2 years before.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and went through it with and the Raiders last year, not because that would be a similar situation, because Antonio Pierce was elevated to the interim coach and they had to go through a search. Now, the thing is, when everybody knows that that's the guy you're going to hire, now it becomes difficult to get people to interview, but you got to have some legitimate interviews.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's very interesting, because I was going to be very upset when they started. Well, I guess I probably would have assumed they had to, but my assumption would be that even if they did go 5-0 and make the playoffs, that they would still bring in another head coach anyways, because they wouldn't want to have it not be them that handpicked the guy. And for me, when you break it down, it's Eberflus hired this guy, right? So it didn't go through like the normal structure, and so that's I hope.
Paul sat in on a bunch of those interviews, but you got to again go back to contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Contractually, the head coach has the power to hire his coaches, his assistant coaches.
Right.
So he has the final say.
Right.
Coach has where Ryan Poles has the final say on who is on the 53-man roster. The head coach has the final say on who the hell plays.
Right. And who his coaches are, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot, again, there's a lot of stuff that are, you got to know what contracts say.
Right. So that means that our current head coach was not picked by anybody else but our previous head coach, which for me breaks the cycle of it going through the process of them, hiring a consultant to get the guy, and then
I don't think they're going to hire a consultant. I don't think they're going to, and it's. I think Ryan knows what he wants, and it's Here's one of the problem you got, because we all got a short list. Fans are bringing up Belichick. It looks right now like, and I just checked some things before I came out with you guys. It's better than 50-50 that he goes to North Carolina. And part of that deal is his kid's going to be the head coach in waiting.
Huh. Interesting.
So now,
Carolina?
is it done? It's not done, but that's what people close to the situation are saying. You know,
Carolina or Jacksonville?
He's going to, Bill's going to be 73 in April. How the hell long is he going to coach?
Are you talking about Carolina or Jacksonville?
Carolina. North Carolina as in university.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I saw that too.
All right. Given your friendship with Pep Hamilton, I was wondering, do you think his system marries to Thomas Brown? And if so, would he be a possible candidate for offensive coordinator or quarterback?
I have not talked to Pep in the last 3 weeks to know if he even knows Thomas Brown, to be totally honest. Last time I talked to Pep was just checking up on him. In fact, he got a hold of me. He was doing a thing on the NFL Network on ranking the rookie quarterbacks, and he wanted my ranking versus his, just for arguing point to see. And we ended up having them the exact same way. And he, I asked him about his son. He's got his son is a senior in high school down in Texas. Pretty damn good quarterback and well recruited, had double-digit offers, D1 offers, and he's going to go to Maryland. So I didn't check to see if he actually signed, because I know Pep wanted him to go to his alma mater, which is Howard. Pep played at Howard, and hell, Maryland and Howard are like 10 miles apart. But that's where he was going. I should just double check the website and see if he actually signed. But, Pep didn't want to work when he got let go by, we didn't get let go by Houston. Lovey got let go, so the whole staff got dismissed. And he still had 2 years left on his contract. So he didn't want to work. He wanted to coach his kid and get his kid ready to play college football. So now, his contract's up. He wants to coach again now. So where that's going to be, who knows? And I don't know if he has any relationship with Thomas Brown. See, I look at it this way. Did you guys watch any of the Thursday presser with the coordinators? And Chris Beatty was in there.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know, I didn't realize the relationship with Beatty and Thomas goes back to working together at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And Thomas was instrumental in Beatty getting hired as the receiver coach as the receiver coach at Wisconsin. And then some of the things he's got Beatty doing here and elevate him to the OC, you've already got your answer. Now, is that a definitive answer? I don't know about that, but it's again, it depends how things play out.
Greg, before we let you go, I want to thank you for your time. There's 2 questions left. I want to kind of put them into one question for you.
Okay.
King Booker World's asking, Greg, would it be more beneficial for Thomas Brown to work out as head coach and to keep the continuity of the development of Caleb rather than overthinking and hiring a new head coach? And I'll sandwich that together with Carl, our producer, saying, how would you feel about trading for a head coach?
That isn't going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That is ex-fodder, ex-gossip, internet gossip.
It's total gossip.
Yeah, and
it's something to talk about.
Yeah, but to me, it's ludicrous talk.
Yeah.
It's funny. You got some decent names. You got Ben Johnson. I love Dave Tobe. Whether he's a candidate,
Been
knows?
saying that for years.
Bobby Slowick, Kingsbury. From what I understand, it's Kingsbury's agent that keeps pushing his name. I'm not a Kingsbury fan. When Kingsbury got the job in Arizona, I'm like shaking my head. I said, the guy didn't win at Texas Tech with Patrick Mahomes. How can you give him a head coaching job? He's got a good offensive mind. There's no question. But that doesn't make you a head coach. And the thing, and I'm not anti Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson could be the greatest coach in the world. Can you guarantee it?
No.
Do you know for sure? Nobody knows.
Right. We know what.
How many times has the hot name been the wrong guy?
Right.
And the last time you could say that is Robert Saleh.
A lot of times, the hot name comes from a team with a great quarterback, or in this case, a great offensive line and a pretty damn good quarterback. I think he should be in the running for MVP this season, along with what's his name from Buffalo. How about the offensive coordinator? What's his name's son? Longtime Broncos coach.
Slowick at
no, not Bobby Slowick's son.
You're talking Kubiak, who's at New Orleans. Yeah. Well, that is New Orleans is kind of falling flat in their face, so that's hurt him.
Yeah.
But go back just to the hot name. Now, DeMeco Ryans was a hot name. He was only a coordinator for like what 1 year following Saleh, and then got the job in Houston. He's worked out really well. But a lot of it's personality and their leadership qualities and how the players relate to them. And you go back, I remember when DeMeco Ryans was coming out in the draft, and Teddy Monaco was our Southeast scout there and had Alabama, and just kept standing on the table for DeMeco Ryans. This guy just not only is an outstanding football player, he's got great character, he's a leader, everything that Teddy said, whenever that was when he was coming out, is still true today. And that's why he's a good head coach.
Have you been impressed with Brown since he been the coordinator?
Yeah, well, I know the same guy, Teddy Monaco, worked with Brown in LA. And so, Teddy and Ballard were the first guys I hired. I hired them the same day in 2001. So I'm close with both. And so I called Teddy. I said, tell me about Brown. He says, he's a man's man. And he said, he says, when he walks into a room, it's respect right away. He controls everybody in the room.
I can see that.
And then, and nobody's going to give him any shit.
Yeah, that's what.
And Pat Manley was on my show a few weeks ago, and Pat's got a connection.
Saw it. Yep.
And just saying, and McVay leaned on. Thomas was his assistant head coach, and McVay really leaned on him. And why? Because of his connection to the players, how the players responded to him.
Yeah, you can tell when I think that's the what all of us fans are getting when we see him at the podium, when he's talking to the media, after his introduction as a head coach, and then his weekly press conferences. We all can see that. We see there's just that aura to him that you can tell he commands the room when he walks in it, and he's got everyone's attention.
See, people are under the misconception that the head coach has got to be a great X and O guy. That's false.
Yep.
The head coach has got to be a great leader.
Yep.
Okay, and perfect example is Detroit.
Yep.
With Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell's never coordinated his life. Assistant head coach. He's a tight end coach. He had the smallest group of players of anybody on the team. But, we drafted Campbell when I was in New York, and he's the same way as a player as he is as a coach, or same way as a coach as he was as a player. He'll kick the shit out of you now. I mean, and it's the way he played. That's the way he is. And so the players respond to that. But he's not gonna, he's not gonna overwhelm you with his X's and O's. And then when you say, well, he hired a great coordinator, he kept Johnson on the staff. He was a leftover from the previous staff. He lucked into it.
That's how it works.
So because of Campbell, and possibly now Brown, do you think there's a trend where coaches with NFL experience is now going to become the thing?
Rather than like,
like playing experience.
Yes, sir.
It's hard to say because there's not a lot of players that get into coaching.
Yeah, it's true.
See, part of it is that you got to have that passion. When you're a player, you got a big, you succeed because you got, again, the football character, you got a strong passion for the game. Mm-hmm. And then you stop playing and you don't lose that passion. So the only way you stay involved is get into coaching or get into scouting. Right. But you want to get into coaching because you really love the game. Coaching's not a fun job. I mean, shit, you say goodbye to your family on August 1st and you say hello to them again in January.
Right.
You never see them.
Right. Especially like if you've been playing and you've been doing that all those years and then you get into coaching and you're doing it all those years, you might as well just get divorced or not even get married.
No, I mean, it's just, like Tobe and I were real close when he was here. We used to play golf during the summer, like 3-4 times a week. Great guy. But, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Dave's never home. I mean, real late. One till Thursday night that he got to see his family. And then every Friday he went to see his son play football in the fall. Shane, who was now with Washington, as an assistant coach. But that's just the way it is, and it's funny because when Shane played on Friday night, there's always about 4 or 5 Bears coaches there because they all like Dave.
Yeah, I would love to see what Dave Tobe would do as a head coach. Always thought that he was somebody that should have been interviewed more and given that chance. I mean,
well, he had a period where he was and got interviewed quite a few times. And then you seem to fall out of that.
Then you're on a team that's just winning Super Bowls. You might as well stay.
All the knows is Harbaugh was a special teams coordinator. He's a pretty damn good coach. And I asked, this was a few years ago when Dave was still in the interview process with teams. And I said, well, who's your staff? And he goes, I got a good one lined up, but I'm not going to tell you. That wouldn't be right. And I respect him for that. Mm-hmm. But he's been in the game in the NFL game for well over 20 years, so he's got connections.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like he would have all the right people in all the right places. He's one of my top choices for sure. But
and Ryan should know that.
Of course.
Having worked with him.
Yeah.
And Ryan actually worked. No, we probably worked with Dave probably about the same amount of time. Because Dave went there, when Tressman got hired. So when was that? 2012?
Yeah.
And Ryan, so it's about the same time that we worked together. So he knows how strong he is.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. Well, Greg, I don't want to keep you any longer. I thank you so much for your time on this Saturday morning. I know you're going to go watch some college football, so enjoy the rest of your day doing that.
No, I got work to do too. You always got those honeydews.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I got to hit the honeydew list right after this. I got you. But I want to thank you so much for taking your time out of your Saturday morning to come hang out with us. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
All right. You do the same, Greg.
We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys this Tuesday for the All 22, and you guys in chat. We'll see you guys soon. Thank you all for being here. Bear down, or as I like to say now, Bear Brown.